Today, we're doing a little counter-programming to show that Washington is not all healthcare all the time, at least not for the next hour. We're going to explore the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill with members of the Freight Stakeholders Coalition, a group of 17 organizations that represent the country's largest shipping and public-private transportation providers. They will help us sort through the bill, which is set to expire on September 30th. Some in Congress want to extend it into next year and pass reauthorization in the spring. The Obama administration wants to do the reauthorization work in 2011, so they will lead us through those issues. I am going to introduce the co-chairs of the coalition, as well as today's moderator. One of the co-chairs is Joni Casey. She is the president and CEO of the Intermodal Association of North America.
The organization of the coalition predated my arrival at IAM. I think I was winding down at ATA at that point. And it was started in an effort to build consensus among the major freight transportation associations. Started originally with the freight transportation providers. So there was a core group of 6-7 companies for the Stakeholders Coalition. That was relatively unheard of at the time that the organization was first formed. You had a lot of companies and associations competing, so we were trying to build a consensus among competitors, which was unusual. The initial coalition membership, as I mentioned, was less than a dozen, I believe. But over the last 18 years we've been in existence, we've grown to also include the shipper and public sector associations as well, and that has blended a lot of the different policies and initiatives together to form a very comprehensive and cohesive group. We've been actively involved in every reauthorization cycle since ICE-T in 1991, and we've had incremental success in elevating the importance of freight on a national level. I say incremental because if you look at each of the bills that were passed prior to safety loop, we got little bits and pieces of things from our agendas that help the freight community. But we never got the whole ball of wax that we were looking for based on the agendas that we developed. The success of the coalition has been a direct result, I think, of our members' abilities to put aside their parochial interests and to reach consensus on issues that benefit the whole freight community. The stakes have never been higher as we engage in the reauthorization of safety loop. We've got an awful lot at stake, and we have got to continue our consensus building in order to raise the elevation of freight to a much, much higher level than it's been heretofore. And that's what you're going to hear about today. And I'd like to turn the microphone over now to Jean Godwin. Jean, as the co-chair of the stakeholders, has done most of the heavy lifting in the last couple of years. She is the primary backbone of the organization, and she's the driver of the freight stakeholder activities. So, Jean, would you want to?
Joni covered it really well, so I want to take a minute to add my thanks to the Press Club and to all of you for coming. I hope you really do take a minute and look at the list of the organizations that are part of this group, because we really have the folks who are most interested in goods movement together with a common agenda, and we're very concerned that we want to make sure that goods movement is an important issue in the next reauthorization bill. We're thrilled when we saw this year that Ashton's reauthorization platform came out, and freight was one of their top priorities. And we have a great set of panelists here, so I'm going to turn it over to Paul to introduce them so you can hear directly from the organizations that are involved in it. Paul, thank you very much. Paul is the editorial director for the Journal of Commerce.
I'll tell you briefly, the reason that we're here today and have groups representing critical parts of the national economy, from those that move the goods to the retailers, manufacturers, and other parts of American business that depend on the flow of goods both domestically and internationally. Briefly, the last 6-year surface transportation spending plan expires in less than 2 weeks on September 30th. A House committee has passed one version of a new bill, but there's no consensus about where to go from there. The administration and the Senate are working on the assumptions right now that they'll simply extend the current law for another 18 months, putting off some of the difficult questions beyond funding, but also potentially putting off the plans for infrastructure investment the country needs. Our speakers here today will tell you why it's so important to the economy that Congress act in a timely manner. So here's how it'll work. First, each speaker up here will make a brief statement, and then they'll take your questions. I'm going to tell you briefly at the start right now who we have here, and then we'll take off. First will be Alan Beeler, Secretary of Transportation for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Secretary Beeler has worked in transportation both in government and the private sector for 34 years. And at what is commonly called PennDOT, he oversees the nation's fifth largest highway system and a sprawling system of transit, rail, freight, and aviation. Next up will be Jennifer McDonald, Assistant Vice President of Government Affairs at the Association of American Railroads, which represents the 5 Class I railroads in the United States and Canada's 2 large railroads. Next will be Darren Roth, who directs highway operations of the American Trucking Association. He's here representing the ATA's president, Bill Graves, who could not be here today. Following Darren will be Janet Kavanaghi, who directs transportation infrastructure of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the country's largest business group, where she leads the Chamber's Let's Rebuild America initiative. And finally, we'll have Mortimer Downing III, who was Deputy Secretary of Transportation for all 8 years of the Clinton administration, and was a member of the Transportation Policy Committee for the Obama presidential campaign and head of the DOT agency review team. He's now a senior advisor at the management consulting firm Parsons Springerhoff. We also have in the audience, if anyone wants to ask questions of people here, Jeff Agnew and Adrian Gregory from the Coalition for America's Gateways and Trade Corridors. We have Bruce Carlton from the National Industrial Transportation League. I think Robin